Today's guest wanted to bridge a gap that she saw between the hearing and deaf community, so she wrote not one, not two, but 3 books about it. Today in the studio we have Khyiana Tate, a young author who's a proud deaf woman and whose books are out there right now. She's helped young deaf girls and boys who really have a lot to say and not enough opportunities to express themselves. Welcome to Celebrate Michigan, the show produced on the campus of Madonna University. I'm Chris Benson, and we're very excited for this week's show. Khyiana, welcome to the show today.
Hello. Yes, my name is Khyiana Tate.
I'm excited to have you, and I want to dig right in to the books. So what made you want to become an author?
So the reason that I wanted to become an author and set up my series, Signing with Kai, was, as you had mentioned, there just wasn't enough representation in my community for Black and brown girls. So I wanted to, at the age of, I'd say 16 or 17, start doing something about it. So I talked with my mom, of course, and I talked about that idea of signing with Kai, and my mom thought it was a good idea. And so we really just started jumping right into that process of what it means to be an author, what does that look like, and I had to reach out to some family to find out what that whole process looked like. I had some friends who even helped me with that process, and so I just got into it, started learning that process of what that means to write. I had many Zoom meetings and just really learned finally what that looked like. And when I met somebody who explained that process, they were giving me examples of what that work looks like. And even at the beginning, I thought it would be pretty easy and simple. And I ended up becoming pretty quickly frustrated, realizing that it wasn't just a one-week process. And it took me about the course of a year to finally get the book ready for Amazon. And so I ended up looking at what that process looked like to get a book published on Amazon and what the costs would be involved with that. And then through the course of that, I ended up finding out that I could basically self-publish because I'd written the book myself, and I had met a few people who had written some books before that, well, I apologize. So what I had done is I had met some people who were interested in writing books, but were a bit too nervous, and so I wanted to go through that process first to show them what that looked like.
And this was the first book that you did, Signing with Kai? Okay.
Yes, that is the first book.
I'm going to just hold this up and tell me, I understand there was also like a Shark Tank type competition that was involved in this. What does that have to do with your book?
Yeah, so the Shark Tank competition, I ended up winning a grant from that, and I was honestly so thrilled and couldn't believe that I'd won it.
Wow, and was it just in the Detroit area, Michigan, nationally? What was the scope of it?
So it was just Detroit area only.
Wow, and so what other kind of projects were being pitched for it? Do you know? Was it various books or different projects?
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating the question?
So was it various different authors pitching books for the award or the competition, or were there different kinds of projects involved?
To be honest with you, I think I was the only person who had submitted a book.
Really? And you won?
Yes.
Do you remember, what was it like when you got did they call you, did they email you? How did you find out you won?
So they did that. They sent me an email and sent me the information. Also, they had sent me a text message as well because they knew that I wouldn't be able to do a phone call. So they let me know that I had won that Shark Tank competition. Yeah.
And who was the first person you told after you found out that you won?
So the first person that I talked to about winning the competition was my mother.
And what was her reaction? How did she respond?
My mom was like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe it. Congratulations." She started celebrating. She then reached out to my aunt, and so she started celebrating. And so we were just so excited to see that. And then, of course, we got to watch the interview that was broadcast on the news as well for the Shark Tank competition.
Oh my gosh. Well, what an amazing process. Congratulations on being an award winner for this process that resulted in this wonderful book that I actually looked on Amazon before the show and I said, oh my gosh, there she is on Amazon with the book. And what year was that it actually got published?
That would have been 2021.
Okay. And what has the response been to the book? Has anyone who's read the book or encountered the book reached out to you and let them know what you think about it?
So several people have come forth with actually more questions. They wanted to know if I had any other books, or the book would sell out and they'd want to know when was the next time they could get it. And so I explained to them the process of finding it on Amazon. I have been getting a lot of people reaching out to me about it. I've also been invited to a few events. There are a couple. I'm having kind of a hard time remembering the names all right now, but yeah, they were so excited to have my books there and to meet me at these different events. And so it was nice just to share who I am, where I'm from. And again, I think that's just a testament to this book because I hadn't seen anything like this before. And so I just feel like this is a very landmark book.
And I noticed there are, in this one, lots of photographs of people in the book, and they're signing. Who are these people?
So, there's a boy in there, his name's Jermel. He's the one who's signing E. And then there's Rajane, who is signing the letter F in that pages that you're showing right now.
Oh, that's wonderful. And are these friends of yours? How did you find the people that are involved?
So these are my friends.
Oh.
So basically I just reached out to them and asked if they wouldn't mind taking some pictures for the book, and they were willing to. And then I do have some family members in there as well. So yeah, friends and family.
Well, my gosh, we have to take a really short break, but when we come back, we'll learn more about Khyiana Tate, our author, and the rest of her book. Stay tuned.
You have pre-diabetes.
Pre-diabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get pre-diabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for pre-diabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it, first impression, my way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
Welcome home, man.
Madonna University's Broadcast and Cinema Arts program is preparing me for the future.
I'm learning from industry professionals, making connections, and honing my skills from hands-on experience every day.
The professors are dedicated to my success, instilling professionalism, creative thinking, and a strong work ethic.
Join Madonna University's Broadcast and Cinema Arts program. Earn your Bachelor's of Arts and take that first step towards your dreams.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson, and I'm here with Khyiana Tate, and we're going to learn more about her books that she's published. There's 3 of them. Before I move on from the first book we talked about in the first segment, I have to show the audience your really cool logo that I found on the last page, Signing with Kai. And tell me, I know there's a hand in there. What sign is the hand making?
So that's the I love you sign. That's the sign that I have as my logo for Signing with Kai.
And I noticed there's a heart in the middle too with like a swirl in it.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Oh, it's beautiful. So I was just saying, I could see that on a sweatshirt. I feel like that needs to be on some merch. That's what I would say.
Well, haven't announced anything official yet, but we'll see how things go, certainly.
Okay. Tell me about the other 2 books that you brought with you today, because I know we said that there's 3 that you've done so far.
So the first book that we had talked about was my first book that I'd published, and then these 2 books I'd recently finished this year. So I'd met with somebody named Danae, and we were just really trying to brainstorm about other books. And so I had thought about maybe doing something along the lines of maybe different colors or just adding something else to the book. And then as we continued talking about it, we realized that it could be very difficult, especially with the type of paper that you're using for the book. So this is what we ended up deciding on doing.
Well, in this book, I Am, as I look through it, there's such powerful words in here with each of the letters. So it says I am. So for C, I am creative. D, I am determined. What was your inspiration for this book?
So my inspiration was a lot of mental health issues that people have been talking about, and it seems to be pretty worldwide happening to everybody. And so I just wanted people to think of words that they could use that were important to basically cultivate an I am culture for them. For example, something even as simple as I am happy or I am excited, things like that. I just wanted people to have those.
Well, I love your word choice. Your words are I am magnificent and I am noble. So these are powerful words. How did you select the exact ones that you put in here? There's so many words in the language. What was it about these that made them really speak to you?
So the words that I had chosen, I thought not only were important to empower people, but also to inspire creativity as well. So there were some words that, for example, there may be even some words that I added in that I didn't know at first, but then I ended up sourcing and I felt were helpful for me, right? And so, if I'm feeling down, sometimes I'll even look at my own book just to, get that positive feeling from it and just read through. So those were words that I had found that really left an impact on me.
I love this one. I'm the X Factor. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the third one, because then I see Signing with Kai and Friends, Mental Health. So, and it's same illustrator, Danae Barmore, or Barmore, I should say. So what about this one?
So this is a book that was written out of my own thoughts, talking to my mom about my own feelings of being sad or, feeling down and just not really understanding what that was, the anger or frustration that I'd felt at times, stress, things along those lines, just feeling hurt. And I mean, just out of those conversations, a lot of these words came up. And there are a lot of experiences in this book that are not my own experience, but are very much everybody's experiences that they're going through as well. And so again, that same sort of mindset of just wanting to be an inspiration to people, wanting to do something with those around me, to not leave them feeling so isolated. I want them to know that they have friends and they have family around. And so it's just so important to make that connection, and doing it through language between, again, that gap between the hearing and deaf community. Using this language helps to bridge that gap and to not allow people to feel so isolated.
And I love that you name so many different emotions in here. So angry, fear, or showing annoyance, displeasure, hostility, anxiety, a feeling of worry. It's acknowledging that these things exist.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but it's so important with sign language to show what your face is doing. We call that facial expression. So you can see, like with some of these pictures, it's not only what the hands are doing. So my hands are showing anxiety, for example. It's showing where that is, but it's also showing what my face is doing, because both are intrinsic parts of American Sign Language. And I know sometimes when the hearing community sees somebody signing, they may think that they're angry when really they're not. We're just using a huge part of our language.
Well, again, I can't believe it's time for a break already. We are going to come right back. You're going to hear much more from our author and our student, Khyiana Tate. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with you.
So we were walking to school.
I started thinking about lunch. Mom packed me turkey and cheese.
She's
I really want
smart.
cheese pizza.
Sometimes her mind wanders.
We should have a sleepover.
I remember saying, Laura?
I think I heard Mom say something.
The sign says don't walk.
Sometimes it's so overwhelming.
I really hope she doesn't
I
have
really
another
hope we
bad
don't
day
have another bad day at school today.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
Do you like this top? It's so gay. Really? Yeah, it's totally gay.
You know, you really shouldn't say that.
Say what?
Well, say that something's gay when you mean it's bad. It's insulting. What if every time something was bad, everybody said, oh, that's so girl wearing a skirt as a top?
Oh, you are.
Those are cute jeans, though. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
My name's Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. And we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
To Celebrate Michigan, I'm Chris Benson. We're in the studio with Khyiana Tate, and we're going to learn a little bit more about her. I've been focusing so much on the books. I think we need to hear a little bit more of her story. So Khyiana, you came to us today, you brought us the books that you've created. You talked about your excitement and your passion for educating people about bridging this gap between the deaf community, the hearing community. Talk a little bit about your origin story, your background. What brought you to this point where you wanted to give this message?
Absolutely. So when I was 2, actually, I went to school at a school called the Detroit Day School for the Deaf. And that's where I started to learn American Sign Language, the alphabet, reading, writing, everything like that. I started that process at a very young age. And unfortunately, the Detroit Day School has shut down since then, and so I ended up going to Bunch Elementary in Detroit. I would say that was maybe 5th or 6th grade. And going to Bunch was okay, but then I ended up moving to South Carolina. I went to the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind. And my experience there was very interesting. I ended up staying at a dorm there. I went through a lot of tutoring, just really brushing up on my writing skills. And honestly, I was completely enamored with the campus. I just thought it was so great. I really enjoyed not only going to school, but then just spending time at that school. And even the fall time in South Carolina was very beautiful. But then I ended up moving back to Michigan. And I went to Bunch Elementary again for a short time. And I decided to go to the Michigan School for the Deaf. And that would have been my 7th grade year. I started learning science and English and really wrestled with a lot of that in school. I mean, you know, as a middle schooler, everything seems to get tougher, right? And I'd say maybe getting into my junior year, well, actually, my sophomore year, unfortunately, was when COVID, you know, made its way into America. Mm-hmm. And so everything really changed. The school changed, my friendships changed. I really felt very stuck at home, and I wasn't able to go out at all, of course. And so by about 2021, school had reopened. It was virtual, which was incredibly difficult and trying, but finally we were able to go back in about September of 21. And so I ended up going to the Detroit School of Arts. It's a high school here in Detroit. And I was learning about art and just starting to get a feel for more of the creative side of myself, something I hadn't recognized that I had a talent for. And so that's really where like some of my new goals had been set into place. It's a lot of hard work, of course, but not only that, but of course it's still school, so there are math, social studies, you know, those normal subjects that I really struggle with. But I've been going through a lot of tutoring and even some summer school, and thankfully have been making my way through high school, and now I've got my eyes set on college, of course, here at Madonna University. I'm very interested in becoming a teacher. I really want to be available to young students to educate them, again, focusing on the Black and brown students, because there's definitely a disparity of education that I want to bridge that gap for. So I'm planning to come to Madonna for 4 years and get my degree here as a teacher. And not only that, but I'm just trying to prepare myself really just to be very excited and resilient, because I know that college is extremely difficult. And so signing with Kai and having these books published and going through that process and experiences, as I've explained earlier, I'm feeling different about it. You know, I'm just feeling like I'm so proud of myself, the things that I've done, and I know that I'm a role model for those who are younger and, you know, are curious about what education looks like. And I just want to go and do for them so that they can see what that looks like and you can be successful.
Ooh, that is so inspiring, and I'm so glad you shared that with us and our audience. So I have to ask you, and I know they want to know, so that's why I'm asking, are you going to write another book? Are there going to be more books?
Oh, there will definitely be more books. I'm still writing.
What do you see for the future? Any future titles that you have in mind or projects you want to share with us now? Or is it a secret?
Unfortunately, it is a secret right now.
I understand. So what do you want people who are watching today to know about your books, about you, about some of the concerns that you said about those that are Black and brown in the deaf community as well?
So I think the most important thing is just making them aware of the disparities that are there for the Black and brown students. Mm-hmm. You know, we saw things in that 2021-2022 school year that there were just so many gaps and lapses in education. It's very unfortunate to see what that really how that impacted the Black and brown community, and so many students had to move around and had to relocate. Even myself, I was originally going to Michigan School for the Deaf, but then I wasn't able to go anymore. And so I think that that's part of it. The other part, again, is just how we can become role models for those children as well. I myself, not having seen anybody who had gone and done before me, I just wanted to go and do it. So I'm hopeful that more Black and brown men and women will get involved and just become role models.
And where can people get your book? If people are watching today and they want to know how to get a hold of it, how can they get these 3 books?
So people are able, if they're interested in getting Signing with Khy, first of all, there is Amazon. You would just type Signing with Khy, Khy. And then the other 2 books, they have been published, but I haven't gotten them printed or published through Amazon yet, so they will be soon to come. These newer books, people are still able to reach out to me directly, and they can email me or they can reach out to me on social media as well, and I'm able to get the books to them as well that way. I can also mail them out as well if they'd like to reach out.
And is there an email address or that you want to give?
Yep. So it's Khyiana, Khyiana, Tate, Tate, 14 @gmail.com.
Thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your books. It's been wonderful talking to you, and I know our audience is going to be checking these books out for sure. So watch for your sales to go up. I have a feeling, because I think they will really want to spread the word too.
I'm hopeful too.
And thank you for watching. The show came to a close far too quick. We appreciate you celebrating Michigan with us and all the wonderful people that inspire us every day from this state, like Khyiana. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.